Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are jumping into a pretty awesome top 5 overpowered guns you guys need to be using right now in Warzone. This could work out great here for Caldera, for Rebirth Island. I personally love playing on Rebirth Island. That's like my go-to thing, but these weapons are going to work great for absolutely everything. And I got some pretty awesome gameplay to show for every single weapon here in this top 5, so I know you guys are going to enjoy it. If you guys could, let's break 500 likes in 24 hours. That'd be amazing. And also subscribe with all notifications turned on. We're on the road to 800,000 subscribers, so it'd be amazing if you join the squad. Okay, so our first gun here today, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be jumping into probably one of my favorite SMGs right now here in Warzone. That's gonna be the Owen gun. The Owen gun is probably one of the better Vanguard SMGs in comparison to like all the rest of them. This probably sits at the very top of that chain. That, and to be honest, probably like the Sten. I think this thing is unbelievably good. It's got a crazy large magazine, which is always good if you're playing duos, trios, and quads. I personally always play trios and quads type game modes, so it's gonna work out really nicely for somebody like myself, and of course, all you guys out there that are playing with your friends. The Owen gun is just gonna do a lot of work, and I think you guys are absolutely gonna love using today's build. So let's actually jump into this. So moving into the build, this is what we're going to be using on it. First thing we happen to have in here is going to be the recoil booster. This of course is going to increase our fire rate, which is pretty useful. This is what we use a lot on our Vanguard SMGs. It's just kind of like the best muzzle attachment. We don't really use silencers all that much. I just find them not to really be all that great. That's that. We have the Hawkinson 305 barrel, which is actually going to increase our highly accurate and controllable, recoil. It's also going to help us out with headshot damage and ADS speed. Obviously, it has a few different cons in there, but that's really not too big of a deal. That's how we're going for the Mark VI skeletal. This is going to increase our ADS speed, which is pretty good. And then we have the 7.6 to 72 round Gorenko mag here. This is going to help with our recoil and accuracy, increase our fire rate, and of course our magazine ammo capacity, which is always a good thing. That's that. We have the incendiary ammunition type, just because incendiary rounds are super annoying, super broken. And then for our rear grip, we have the fabric grip for our ADS speed, sprint to fire, and hip fire accuracy. Then in our perks, we have acrobatic, which is going to increase our movement speed and sprinting move speed. And then we have for perk 2, we have quick for our sprint speed. Up here in the stock section, we have the remove stock, which increases our movement speed, aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, and aim walking movement speed. And last but not least, we have the Mark III reflector. And I want to point out here that real fast is that you guys don't have to use this by any means. This is just a little bit of personal preference thing. I'd recommend either using the Nidar Model 47 or the Slate reflector if you don't feel like using the Mark III or do not have it unlocked yet. Both of those red dot options up here are going to be fantastic. This is my full build here for the Owen gun. This thing's an absolute beast. And with that being said, let's actually move on to our next gun here in the top 5. Okay, so now let's talk about a gun here that I actually really like using. This is probably my favorite AR in the game right now, the Cold War C58. This thing, actually, I made a video on this here more recently, probably about yesterday as the time of you guys are seeing this, or for any guys out there, I mean, maybe not yesterday, but anyways, this gun right here has the highest KD out of any AR in Warzone, just because like that, basically meaning that out of every single person that uses this gun in Warzone, this thing has about a 1.3 KD overall in comparison for every single person that's ever used this thing. That's what it averages out at, and that's just because it's a really good gun. All the really bad weapons have sub 1 KDs on them. That's just because they're really not all that great. So this gun here, I mean, as long as you're able to control some of that recoil, you're going to be able to down people unbelievably quick, and it's just going to be super awesome. So let's actually jump into a pretty good build here for it. For our build here on the C58, it's pretty simple. We got 5 attachments instead of 10. I actually prefer that. I don't know why Vanguard weapons have 10 attachments, but we have the first thing in here, the agency suppressor here. This could be the assault rifle style suppressor. I think that's just the way to go. After that, we have the 18.5 task force barrel. This is going to be the heaviest barrel out there. This is going to give us the most amount of control, and of course that damage range is what we definitely really need. After that, in the underbarrel section, we have the field agent grip, which is absolutely incredible. Horizontal vertical recoil control, definitely need that for this gun. And after that, in the magazine section, we have the 45 round drum magazine. But to be honest with you guys can run the Stenag 55 round drum. It's a little bit personal preference. I would never ever suggest going for the 50 round fast mag, or just any type of fast mag in general, just because this gun has such a good reload speed already that even if you have the 55 or the regular 45 round drum like I have, you're still going to reload unbelievably quickly. It's got a crazy good reload speed. I don't know, for whatever reason they made it have that. And so I think that's also another reason why it's one of the top tier ARs, apart from its just overall damage out. But I'd recommend a 45 you want a little bit more mobility, and 55 you want to have a little bit more ammo in your magazine. And of course, lastly here we have the Axle Arms 3 times, which of course is going to be the best optic to run on any of your Cold War ARs. This is my full build here for the C58. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Absolutely love the C58. It's a top tier AR, my favorite, my go-to sweaty one right now And I think you guys should definitely be using it. Our next gun, I don't feel like I can make a top 5 here in Warzone without including the MP40. The MP40 is such a good SMG right now. I would say between that, of course, and when I talked about the Owen gun, the MP40 is probably got to be the best SMG out of all the Vanguard SMGs right now. I think this is universally used because it's got such good mobility, such great damage output, and you guys are really gonna like using this thing. I know you probably be dying by it. There's not very many Vanguard weapons you die by in Warzone, but the MP40 is definitely one of those ones you are gonna die by a decent bit just because it's really solid. So let's not waste any more time here. Let's hop into a pretty solid build here with this gun. I think it's absolutely incredible, and it's definitely a go-to SMG for me on all of my builds. So jumping this here, first thing we're going to be using here is going to be the muzzle. Obviously, we're going to go for that recoil booster. This is just the way to go. Like I said, for the previous Owen gun, we just always use recoil booster on our Vanguard weapons. After that, with the Krausnik 221mm 01B barrel. This, of course, is just going to help us out here being a little bit more agile, a little bit more mobile. I absolutely love using this thing. You guys can use the Krausnik 317 04B barrel. That's going to work out pretty nicely as well. But I've actually found good success using this. And, of course, the Krausnik. It's just a little bit more up to you. What do you guys want to be able to have? After that, in the underbarrel section, we have the 1941 hand stop. I actually really like this thing. It's pretty solid. And you can also use the Carver foregrip if you feel more comfortable using that. You can switch between the two. I just recently moved from the Carver over to the M1941. After that, in the magazine section, we use the 7.62 Gorenko 45 round mag. I know this is going to say a lot of cons you don't want to see, but trust me when I say this, that this is indeed going to be the best magazine out of absolutely everything. For the reason, when you actually use this and you pair it with, you know, the incendiary rounds, of course, the recoil booster, I mean, you're having a crazy high damage output. Even though you lost a little bit of damage, your overall output is much greater than if you were to use, let's say, the 64 round magazine or so on. After that, in the rear grip section, we have the fabric grip here for increased ADS speed, sprint to fire, and hip fire accuracy. Gotta love that. It's just only got a bit of a con for your overall accuracy, but it's really not going to do too much. And then for our perks, we have steady, which is going to be ADS firing move speed, which helps us be, of course, a little bit more agile. For the perk 2, we have quick, which helps with our sprinting speed. Then in our optic section, we're going to be using the Krausnik ISO 1M large iron sights. I prefer to use the iron sights, though you guys can definitely go ahead and use something like the Night Arm model or the Slate Reflector. A little personal preference, but you can see there's no cons to either of these things. But with this, you actually get a benefit of ADS speed, and I think that's actually pretty sick. And that's going to help out, of course, because using this in close quarter situations, ADSing first is always a good thing. And then for our last attachment, we have the Krausnik 33mm folding stock for sprinting fire, sprint move speed, and of course movement speed. This is always a good thing here. I stumbled over my words there, but this is my full build here for the MP40. Absolutely love this gun. Top tier SMG, probably the best ones in the game right now, period. So definitely use this. Okay, next up on our list here is going to be a AR that I really like using right now. Apart from that C58, I love using the Cold War XM4. This thing is unbelievably good. I think it's got a great overall mobility, great damage profile. The recoil is pretty controllable. It's got a little bit since they decided to nerf it a few times here because it was really that good. But overall, I still absolutely love using this thing, and it's definitely like one of my meta AR loadout type guns. I think it works out great, especially on Rebirth Island. I don't know exactly how well it's going to work on Caldera for some of you guys out there. You guys can test it out, but I do think that the overall bullet velocity and everything is pretty solid, so you guys should have absolutely no issues over there. Let's jump into a pretty good setup here for this gun. Okay, so jumping into this gun here, this is going to be my build out for it. First thing we have on here in the muzzle category, agency suppressor. Obviously, that is the assault rifle suppressor that we want to be able to run. We have the barrel section. We have the 13.5 task force, and this is going to be the heaviest barrel out there. I wouldn't really recommend running anything else on this gun. There's no reason you should be running any of these other barrels. It just does not make sense. After that, in the underbarrel section, the field agent grip for that horizontal and vertical recoil control. You for sure need a grip on this thing, and pairing that with that task force barrel, you just like 100% have to put those things together in tandem, because you know this thing will have some recoil otherwise, so you need to be able to minimize that as much as possible. After that, in the magazine section, we got the 45 round base magazine on here. I think the 45 round magazine is absolutely incredible for this gun. I love having that mobility, but also getting those extra rounds in the magazine. And of course, there you can see the con here. It only says reload quickness and not ADS speed, which if you go for the Sten 60, you actually do lose ADS speed. And for me, it's all about mobility, and I feel that 45 rounds in a assault rifle magazine works out perfectly. So I'd recommend y'all to go ahead and run the 45 round mag. And of course, to finish this bad boy off, the Axle Arms 3x is, like I said, the best optic for all these Cold War ARs. This is my full build here for this gun. Absolutely love using the XM4. This is a crazy good variant here as well. The XM4's got some good stuff. Y'all should definitely go ahead and use this gun if you aren't already. really, really solid. Now for our last gun here in the top 5, we're gonna take a look at another Vanguard SMG. That's gonna be the Sten, and I absolutely love using the Sten here on this game. If you guys know the ground loot, you pick up a blue Sten, you find it on the ground, you're like, okay, like I'm set to go, because that and of course the Owen gun are some top tier ground loot right now, and of course you can build them out to be really solid weapons, and it's just got such great mobility, a great damage profile. The iron sights are very easy to use, and that makes it a pretty solid SMG to run as, like, you know, a secondary. So that's the reason we're gonna be running this here. This is gonna be a very close quarter secondary. You're not gonna be picking people off at range. It's not like an MP7 or something like that where it's got, you know, that little recoil. I mean, it's gonna have some recoil, but it's also gonna hit very, very hard. So it's a pretty cool setup for it. Okay, now for this setup here on the Sten, we're gonna be running the first thing here in the is the recoil booster. That's just, you know, like the thing we always have to run on our Vanguard SMGs. After that, in the barrel section, we run the SA 65mm rapid barrel to increase our fire rate. That is a hugely crucial thing to run on this gun. Like, you guys should always be leveling your guns up to get, you know, specifically this barrel, and I just recommend you guys get that one. After that, in the underbarrel section, we have the M1941 hand stop. We definitely have to control this recoil. I do believe this is better than the Carver foregrip for that, so that's why I recommend to run that. After that, in the magazine section, we have the 9mm 50 round drum magazine. I love the 50 round drum magazine on this gun. It's a little bit cumbersome in terms of, like, it will get in your way when you're sprinting around, so you kind of have to, like, deal with that a little bit. It's kind of like the Owen gun, where the Owen gun has that weird magazine to the right side, but on this gun it's just going to be kind of a little bit in your face, but you guys can definitely deal with that. I personally have, and I think this gun's great. Otherwise, after that, on the ammunition side of things, we have the incendiary. I think that's great. Just super annoying, really. In the rear grip section, we have leather grip here. We're not going to get any cons out of this. I normally speaking, we probably go for, like, maybe the fabric, but I'm not trying to lose any more accuracy out of this gun, as it sometimes feels like your shots can go maybe not exactly in the spot you're aiming at. I don't know if there's, like, still bloom in the game, but I feel like it can sometimes not be that great. And then for our perks, we have acrobatic, and then we of course have quick to overall make us a little bit more agile. And then in the optics section, we have the SA32S. These are the iron sights. I absolutely love it in the iron sights on a gun. You guys, like I said, can run something like, you know, a NIDAR or a slate reflector. It's not gonna be too big of a deal, but for me personally, I like getting a little bit more ADS speed, and the iron sights work out great. And then for our last attachment here, we have our stock section, the Gawain 483 Folding S stock. I actually even probably butchered that a little bit as well, but this is going to be my full build out here for this thing. I love this stock, and I think this gun is fantastic. Y'all should definitely be, of course, using all these weapons here in this top 5. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys enjoyed me stumbling around on some words, give this thing a like, subscribe if you are brand new, and just run the Trim Cap. Don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.